Introduction. Classical children's literature is full of examples of outstanding works that have become a cultural treasure and are still being discussed with interest today. One of these well-known works that are known to almost everyone in the book The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, written by the famous American writer Mark Twain. This book is full of exciting and funny moments. Its main characters are very charismatic personalities, and therefore, this story is read with interest by children and adults around the world. The plot of the story. In the center of the plot of the book is the boy named Tom Sawyer, who grows up without parents and lives with his aunt, Polly. Tom is quite an active young man. He practically never sits idle and spends almost all his free time outdoors, playing with friends, and making up various games. Together with one of his mates, Huckleberry Finn, Tom once falls into a very unpleasant position, becoming the enemy of one of the most dangerous men in their district. It is about Injun Joe, a ruthless and terrible man. In the novel, there is also a naive romantic line since Tom is secretly in love with a girl named Becky Thatcher. The final of the story is positive, but the main thing is how the author manages to convey the mood of the era in which the boys and other characters lived. The book takes place along the banks of the Mississippi River, and the author purposefully sought to describe these places most vividly as he grew up in similar places. All the events, as a rule, are described very rectilinearly. The theme of racial inequality is regularly addressed. Nevertheless, at that time, it was considered the norm, and there is no particular emphasis on the topic of slavery in the novel. In addition to racism, the novel raises the issues of friendship, mutual understanding, trust, etc. Characters' dialogues are written in a vivid language, which allows achieving maximum realism and conveys the central ideas of the storyline. All the events are described in a bright and detailed manner, and the reader can easily understand the way of life of that era. Main characters' traits. The main characters of the novel are Tom Sawyer, a cheerful and mischievous boy, and his friend Huckleberry Finn, an orphan who often lives on the street and has a terrible reputation among adults. The antagonist of the story is Injun Joe, a man who is rumored to be very dangerous. Also, throughout the novel, there are other characters. For example, Becky Thatcher spends time with the boys and gets into the cave with them, where they all have to find a way out and escape from the Injun Joe. Another character is Muff Potter, who is often drunk but harmless. Despite an evident rivalry between good and evil characters, the impression after reading remains positive, and, as with any story for children, the novel ends positively. Conclusion. Thus, the novel by Mark Twain, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, is justly considered to be timeless classics and is loved by children and adults around the world. All the events and characters of the story are described vividly for the reader to understand the peculiarities of that epoch. The struggle between good and evil people, funny dialogues, as well as a romantic line can be met in the story. Study Corgi can help you make your studies smarter. Visit studycorgi.com for more samples like this, study tips, and writing tools.